Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? How lovely to see you, lovely lot. Welcome to another marketing meetup. My name is James Sambrook, and thank you so much for being here. This is our third session on marketing and AI. So to kick things off, I'm just going to share my screen like this. In the chat function, which you'll see below, you'll see a little blue toggle. If you could switch it from hosts and panelists to everyone, then everyone will be able to see what you're writing in the chat rather than just me and Heather. And so let us know where you're logging in from. We've got people from Dubai, we've got people from Leeds, Stevenage, Spain, Norwich, Cyprus, Tokyo. Wow, Manchester, south of France, Preston. You're all over the world. This is incredible. And let us know, are you drinking tea or coffee this morning? Like, what's going on? What's firing you up this morning? How lovely to have you all here. And we have this morning the wonderful Heather Murray with us. She's a fellow Brummy. She's only about 10 minutes down the road. We maybe should have done this together in the office. But she's going to be talking about how marketers can get the most out of Chat GPT. Her business is AI for Non-Techies. I think that's going to be perfect for our audience today. Now, I know Joe has been using the paid version of ChatGPT for a long time and has used it for everything from pulling stats from data sets to idea generation and even a bit of copywriting. And it feels like when you get good at using ChatGPT, it becomes like your right arm. And so Heather has a brilliant newsletter, which I will just which is one of these QR codes here that you can sign up to. And she also has a learning hub as well. There's a bunch of courses in there, so go and check that out. Heather's going to give a presentation, and then we'll have time for the Q&A afterwards. So rather than putting any questions into the chat, unless it's chatting amongst yourselves, if you put it in the Q&A section and then use the upvote to vote those questions up, then we'll try and get as many of those answered at the end as we can. Now, today, our featured sponsor, our partner, is Exclaimer. These sessions are free, and 1,286 of you signed up this morning. And, Exclaimer is the one footing the bill to make sure this happens, which is incredible. Now, Exclaimer is a really cool tool that acts like an additional marketing channel too. So if you've got 2 people or you've got 2,000 people in your organization, you can use Exclaimer's email signature management tool to manage everything in one central place. So you can change the format of everyone's signature with a click of a button. You can use it to promote content and share things at the bottom of your email, which is really cool. But I also see it as a big time-saving thing and something that offers brand consistency. If everybody's got the same email signature, then you're looking, on point. Look like you know what you're doing. So if you go and check them out, exclaimer.com, you can have a free trial with them. And if you mention the marketing meetup, if you use their paid thing, then you get 20% off. Can't say fairer than that. I'll also send all those details in the follow-up email. And I will include all of these lovely folk as well. So Cambridge Marketing College, Frontify, and Redgate as well. All the brands that you see popping up in our newsletter, in our podcasts, our jobs boards, wherever you see us talking about brands, please do show your appreciation to them, because our partners allow this thing to happen, which is wonderful. You've heard enough from me. It's great to see that we've got so many people in the chat, but they're here to see you, Heather. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very, very much, James. First of all, it's so lovely to see all the people. Greetings from sunny all over the UK. It's sunny Birmingham here as well. It's really, really nice to see. We've actually got a nice day for once. And I saw somebody was on their 4th cup of coffee, which is impressive. I'm only on my 2nd. So, well, I think it was Joe Royce. Well done, Joe. But yeah, I am here to chat about ChatGPT and what marketers need to know about it. So I'm going to be giving you a bit of a tour of the paid version of ChatGPT. So a lot of people come to me and ask, is it worth the £20 a month? And I honestly think, and I promise you I'm not sponsored by ChatGPT, I honestly think it is by far the best £20 I spend all month. It's, you were talking about Joe, it's his right arm. It is for me as well. It's something that I use every day in so many different use cases, and that's what I'm going to go through today. So I'm going to share my screen and kick off, if that's okay. I can't believe there's 530 people, the biggest webinar I've ever done. Amazing. So let's have a little look here. And we're going to do a bit of live demoing as well. So, okay, let's go over here. So a little bit of an introduction to me. So my name's Heather Murray. I'm founder at AI for Non-Techies. So I do all sorts of things. I'm very lucky. I sort of jumped onto generative AI a couple of years ago, actually, before the Chat GPT times. I fly around the world speaking. I do lots of training with teams, loads with agencies, and have my AI learning hub as well. Everything I do is completely non-technical because I am completely non-technical myself, and I think that is one of the most exciting things about AI at the moment is that you do not need to be a techie person to use it anymore. You can now converse with it just like a normal human. You don't need to understand coding or anything like that. You can build things and build workflows and all these incredible things. And that's what makes me so excited about it. So I will not be using any jargon. If I do, feel free to pull me up on it. And AI completely changed my life. So as I say, I came across it 2 years ago when I had a great big client. I ran a marketing agency up until recently, and I've just gone all in on the AI side instead. But we managed to get $75 million worth of pipeline for this client using an AI tool. So they came to me saying, we've got this £10 million product. We want to sell, and we're knocking on doors and nobody's opening them. And I said, how are you approaching them? And they'd segmented by job title, by industry, by pain point, but they hadn't segmented by individual. And AI, hyper personalization, it's a completely different topic, but AI allowed me to analyze individual personalities of these people, and eventually we got 6 sales, and then plus we got another couple on the top of that as well. So absolutely amazing. So that really attracted my attention. Then a few months later, ChatGPT came out, and yeah, my world changed. So as I say, I've been flying all over the world. It's been wonderful. I've managed to recruit 29,000 newsletter readers on 46,000 on LinkedIn. I've been called an influencer, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Here's me in my premiering bathroom with my little award going, what on earth am I doing with this? And I managed to be featured 4 times in Forbes so far this year. So there's a lot going on. It's a big world of exciting opportunity in the world of generative AI, particularly as a woman as well. So yeah, it has completely changed my life. I spend 3 to 4 hours every single day testing tools, talking to AI tool founders, just experimenting and trying new things because its capabilities grow and grow every day. So I just want to share with you a few things that I've found around ChatGPT, particularly today. So let's start off with LLMs. So an LLM is a large language model. So that is a type of AI, a type of generative AI. And actually, I'm just thinking, have I put my slides in the wrong direction? I've missed out a slide, damn it. But yeah, so there is normally an explanation as to what AI and generative AI is. But generative AI, and that's what we're kind of referring to when we're talking about LLMs, I'll explain that in a second, is AI that can generate something. So it does what it says on the tin, really. So it's generative AI, generates text or audio or video or images. So it can generate something new that a human previously would have generated. So that's generative AI. LLMs, these large language models, are ways of conversing. So they're a type of generative AI, but you can converse with it like a human being. So these big chatbots are the big LLMs. So there are loads and loads of different ones, but these are the big 4 at the moment. So pretty much everybody, I'll be surprised if you hadn't heard of ChatGPT by OpenAI. We've also got Claude by Anthropic. They are backed by Amazon, and this is the one to watch at the moment. This Claude, it's yeah, they're coming up really, really quickly. I mean, they're kind of ranking top at the moment anyway for kind of people think use cases. Gemini is Google's version. So of course, Google weren't going to sit back and go, oh, I don't mind all my market share disappearing out the window. They had Bard to start off with, which was awful. But now they have Gemini, which is becoming interesting, but we're not going to talk about that today. And Copilot by Microsoft, which I think is absolutely terrible compared to the rest. It's about 6 months behind everything else, and 6 months in the world of AI is a really long time. But we're going to be focusing on ChatGPT today and what it can do. So again, that question, free versus paid, is it worth that £20 per month? So pros of ChatGPT, or the feature of ChatGPT, totally free. And in fact, they haven't rolled it out yet, but there is going to be a version of it where you don't even need to sign up. It's just, I think it's called chatgpt.com. So you can just go in and play with it. You don't even need to have an account. I don't think it's in the UK yet, but it's been rolled out all over the world. So completely easy. There's no barrier to access at all. It is super quick. So anyone who's used it, you're not sat waiting for a response at all. It's straight away, you get this huge amounts of data. But your data isn't private when you're using the free one. I'm going to talk about privacy with the paid one in a second. That means that whatever you put in could technically come out somewhere else. So if you were to enter some sensitive client data or some personal information, that could technically come out in somebody else's response. It's very, very unlikely, but it's not bulletproof. So it's something to be really aware of. It doesn't have internet access. So that means it's trained. So ChatGPT is trained on this massive snapshot of the internet. And they keep on updating that snapshot, but they've updated it up until April 2023 at the moment. So it doesn't know anything that happened after April 2023. So without the internet, it's not able to access any information from the last year. And it doesn't have what's called multimodal features. And that's the basis of what we're going to go through today. So multimodal, it has multiple modes. So it means it can do lots of different things, and we're going to go through that, but it doesn't have those features. So the free version is a conversation back and forth. It's nice and quick, isn't private, doesn't have internet access. ChatGPT Plus, and I love it so much, I've added a little crown, is $20 a month, or £20 a month as well. Again, your data isn't private in the paid version. So there's actually 4 versions of ChatGPT. You have the free one, you have this plus one that we're going to be using today. You have the Teams version, and you have Enterprise. So it's only Teams and Enterprise that have completely private data. So just be aware of that, and they go up in price. So ChatGPT Plus, £20 a month. The Teams version, a minimum of 2 users, £30 a month if you're going to pay monthly, or £25 a month if you pay annually. But I wouldn't recommend getting any AI tool annually because they change so much and they compete against each other so much. I wouldn't sort of buy into something for a whole year. So your data still isn't private, but you have tons of other stuff that we're going to go through. You've got internet access, so you can access that stuff past April 2023. You can go in and find things and get hyperlinks. You've got custom GPTs, and we'll look at those again in a little bit. And they are when you can build your own version of ChatGPT. So it has all of ChatGPT's knowledge plus the knowledge that you're going to give it as well. So you can give it, specific tone of voice guides or specific reports to focus on. It has something called advanced data analysis. So you can converse in a really natural human way with your data. So you can have a big spreadsheet and just say, where are the outliers? Create me some graphs. I'm going to demo that in a little bit. And it also can generate images. So my advice really is get the paid one. I think after this, you'll see how much I think it is worth it. So we're going to go through a few of the features today. So the internet, the image generation, it's got this thing called vision as well, which I'm going to show you, chatting with your data and then building your own chat GPT. But before we do any of that, I think it's really important to look at proper prompting. I think the number one thing that I see people doing wrong, they'll go onto ChatGPT and they'll put something in and they'll get something quite generic and crap out, and they go, oh, it doesn't work. It's ChatGPT. AI is rubbish. They'll generally write off the entire thing. Just gives you really boring content, and that's generally down to not prompting properly, maybe putting 1 or 2 lines in, or just not understanding the rules. So even though you can converse like just a standard human conversation works very well, it doesn't mean it's going to get you the best results. You need to understand that you have to structure it in a certain way. So I'm going to go through a bit of a simplified version of that. So prompting, and I always want to be careful to define everything, because as I say, completely non-technical, that's the instructions that you give to an LLM. So we know an LLM now is a large language model, and it's in a conversational way. So you open up ChatGPT, that thing that you type there, that's a prompt. So just it's just to make that super clear. There's my AI Heather over here that my graphic designer made me. So I've got a whole big bunch of them. They're wonderful. So bad prompting, and this is where people generally start. They think they're a marketer and they go, right, okay, write me an 800-word blog about content marketing and include the keywords content marketing and marketing strategy. That's going to create a really generic very predictable blog. Or give me 10 ideas for YouTube videos on content marketing. Again, you're gonna get ideas, you're gonna get response from both of these. And when you first see that response, when you first use ChatGPT, it's amazing. You think, oh, wow. But as you use it a little bit more, you think, oh, okay, that's something I could have thought of. You know, there's somebody who's brand new to marketing could have thought of those ideas. You know, give me something more. And it's all about creating really, really good prompts and understanding how to structure those. So proper prompting includes 3 things. So I like to think of them as the 3 C's: character, context, and clarity. And we'll look at the limitations in a second, a little bit more towards the end. So a character. So imagine that you're walking, you've got a task to do, and you walk into a room and the ideal person to help you with that task is sat in that room. So if you're looking to write a LinkedIn post, there's a really experienced LinkedIn ghostwriter is sat right there in the room for you to have this conversation with. Or if you're looking to create a content strategy or a strategy for Instagram, content strategy for Instagram, there is somebody in that room who's got 10 years experience of creating content strategies for Instagram in your particular area. It's all about giving that a character. So it's giving context. So ChatGPT doesn't know who you are. It doesn't know who it is. And it's drawing from this absolutely huge data set. You think this snapshot of the internet. So it's kind of like going into a library and saying, can I have a book, please? It's kind of, what do you want a book on? Why do you want the book? How can I narrow this down for you? So what proper prompting is about narrowing it down. So getting that huge amount of data and narrowing it down. So that first step of giving it a character is going to go, right, okay. So you walk in saying, I want to speak to a LinkedIn ghostwriter. It's going to go, right, okay, narrow it down to LinkedIn related data. So give one to the AI that you're speaking to, one for ChatGPT. So you can use words like you are or act as and give them the character. And we'll look at a couple of examples in a second. Something people often forget is give a character to you. So it doesn't know who you are either. So act as a LinkedIn ghostwriter. I am an AI trainer in the UK. It's starting to form this context. So it's going to go, right, okay, UK, okay. We're going to be talking about AI and we're going to be doing LinkedIn. So it's narrow, narrow, narrow. The character can also be somebody real, if you like. So I frequently ask ChatGPT to act as people like Alex Hormozy. I'm a massive Alex Hormozy fan. I know you love him or hate him. I can totally understand why people hate him because he's really irritating, and particularly his TikTok videos. But I really like his $100 million offers structure. So you can speak to him. I sometimes speak to James Clear for Atomic Habits. Habit forming. If there's somebody who ChatGPT is aware of. So somebody who's got a lot of content on the internet. So if it's an academic, then there's probably going to be a lot of content on the internet. If there's somebody who's written a load of books or somebody has a really strong presence, think that snapshot of the internet is going to contain a lot of stuff from that person. So you can actually converse with that person if you want to as well. So go and act as Alex Hormozy. I am an AI trainer. I'm a gym owner, or whatever would be relevant in that context. So start with the character, remember one for them and one for you. The next thing is context as well. So giving aims, so you're starting to explain the purpose of what you're actually doing. So here's who you are in this conversation, here's who I am, and this is what I'm looking to achieve. So from this conversation, I'm looking to so let's stick with the LinkedIn ghostwriting. So I'm looking to draft 5 LinkedIn posts because I would like to put them here and I'd like them to help me in the conversion stage for this company or whatever. You start to just give more titles, more examples, sorry. Giving examples is one of the absolute best things that you can do in any form of prompt. So humans are really bad at describing what they want. We've got very limited vocabularies and we tend to draw from the same words. So for example, when we're describing our own tone of voice, everybody wants to be friendly but knowledgeable, conversational, human sounding, engaging. We'll all use these same words. So we'll draw from a pool of about 50 words. So we all get the same result. So this computer is getting the same words in. So it's going to give the same results out. A way to get around that is to give examples. So I was saying to James actually before this, I think of ChatGPT as a really kind of keen assistant who's just joined the company and they are really talented and really enthusiastic, but they need instructions. So they need context. So you wouldn't say to a new copywriter, write me an 800-word blog on content marketing. You'd say, right, okay, we need you to write a blog. Here's some examples of ones that have done really well for us in the past. And so they're going to think of the difference between those two results. They're going to be able to read, and they will deduce so much from that example. So the length, the structure, the syntax, the sections, so many different things. So AI, when fed examples of things, is going to be able to create a much better version than if you just try and describe it yourself. So any opportunity you have to give an example, then do that. So context, so aimed examples, just make sure that you're kind of creating this context around it. And then clarity. So it doesn't know things like what an idea is. So an idea, what is an idea to you? Is an idea a paragraph? When you've kind of, give me some ideas. Is it a table? Is it a few bullet points? Like, what does an idea look like? So things like, if I would like 5 ideas for posts, you say I would like 5 ideas for posts, but an idea is a headline overview, 3 bullets, and then a wrap-up statement at the bottom, and then everything will be that specific. So being really specific as to what you want from it, because remember, it's got this huge data set, all these different things, it needs to know specifically what you're after. So really, really clear instructions, and it's better to show you examples of that in a second. So character, who it is, who you are, context, what it's doing it for, and clarity, be really, really specific. Define things as well. So don't be muddy. Again, think of that intern, that plucky intern, just explain exactly what you mean. And so proper prompts do take a little bit of time to put in, but when you've got them right, you can use them over and over again. So when you start prompting a lot, you tend to find a prompt that really works, copy paste it in just a GDoc or something, and then you can build your own prompt library. But you do have to put that effort in at the beginning. Just to be aware, and we'll go through the risks and limitations properly at the end, but ChatGPT, as with all LLMs, hallucinates. And that means that if it doesn't know the answer, it will make stuff up, and that stuff will be really convincing. There's a famous court case actually in New York at the beginning of last year, where a really cheap lawyer, I'm saying he's cheap because of what he actually did, he must have been cheap. He went to court so somebody hurt themselves on an aeroplane and they wanted to sue the airline, and they went to this cheap lawyer. And the lawyer pulled together a case, but he used ChatGPT to pull together the case, and came into court and went to the judge. Here you go, here's loads of examples of precedents. And the judge was like, wow, you've got a really strong case here, but I've never heard of any of these. Can you go back and check they're right? Because this is really new to me, and this is one of my specialist areas. And so the lawyer went back to ChatGPT and said, oh, these are right, aren't they? And ChatGPT was, yeah, absolutely. They're completely right. And it turns out it had completely made up all of them. And I don't know why the lawyer didn't bother to even check one of them, but this really, really happened. And so the case was completely thrown out. Hopefully the lawyer was struck off for pure laziness. But that it can make big chunks of things up. In my experience, it's probably around about 5 to 10% of the time, but you need to be really aware of that. So not only do you need to spend time prompting and putting together these good, strong prompts, you also need to be aware of what comes out the other side, not necessarily being 100% truth. So you might have 10 facts and statistics, but a couple of them might be made up. So you need to always have that human editing layer. So it's a fantastic tool to work with you, but it's not a silver bullet. It's not a one-click solution. Also, memory. So they're working on it. ChatGPT are about to release they've been saying for about 6 weeks it's coming out, but it hasn't come out yet. A tool called Memory. But at the moment, every new chat you start is complete blank slate, completely fresh. It doesn't know who you are, it doesn't know who it is. If you stay in the same chat, it will remember to a point what you've been saying and then the interactions you've been having. So if you've given it a character and you've given it context and you've given it clarity, it's going to remember all of that. But there is a point, depending on if you use the free version, that point comes really quite early. If you're using the paid version, it comes a little bit later. Then it starts to forget what's happening in that chat. So just be aware of that. You need to kind of start feeding the details back in. But yes, so it doesn't remember. And every time you open a fresh new chat, completely starting from scratch again. I've had people go, but it remembers who I am. It doesn't. It doesn't. There is a feature on the paid ChatGPT called custom instructions. And you can add preferences. So what do you want ChatGPT to know about you? And how would you like it to respond? When it first came out, I thought, brilliant, this is the answer. So you don't have to have characters or context anymore. You can give it all the information it needs. But in my experience, it works about 50% of the time. It's not a flawless tool. So if you do have the paid version, it's good to kind of play around with that, but it's not as good as we think. Hopefully this new Chat GPT memory tool, which claims to learn as you type and will start creating content in the way that you like it to, it's meant to be a little bit better, but it's not out yet. So just something to be aware of. So character, context, and clarity, and just be aware of those limitations there. So a couple of examples. So let's look at a couple of different use cases. So LinkedIn one, and I'm going to throw a legal one in there as well, because I think, as marketers, we often have contracts, we're sending out service agreements to people, and it's good to have an extra pair of eyes. A lot of us, don't come from legal background. So we're going to look at those two use cases. Character, so who would be best in these conversations? Context, those aims and examples, and then we're going to be very clear too. So I've marked them off in colours to show. So this is a relatively short prompt. Act as a LinkedIn ghostwriter. So here's our character. So that's who the ChatGPT is. I am an AI trainer who specialises in non-technical AI training for small businesses. There's the two characters. Then we're going to go into context. I'm looking to brainstorm some strong ideas for posts for my LinkedIn. They need to provide lots of value for my audience who are beginners when it comes to using AI in their businesses. Generative AI is a particular focus, particularly within a new business environment. So there's our context. And then a bit of clarity. An idea, so we've just asked for ideas here. An idea should be a topic, then 3 bullet points to cover and reasons why it would help my audience. I'd like 5 ideas in total. So be really, really specific. So this, as I say, is a very short prompt. My general prompts is a good one for beginners, but my general prompts are probably 2 or 3 times the length of this. The more information and examples you can give. So a better way of doing this would be, here's 100 examples of LinkedIn posts that have done well for me. Or if you can't do that, 10 examples, it's going to see so much more. But let's run this and let's see what sort of answer we get. Because as I say, the more detailed and the more clear the prompt, the better. So I actually had to upgrade to Teams Edition this morning because I was playing around so much. It cut me off and said, you can only go back on at 10:47 this morning. I thought, that's after the webinar. So I had to upgrade. But yeah, so we put that in. So yeah, I'm currently using Teams Edition. It doesn't have any difference from Plus in its responses. It has a couple of extra features. But yeah, so that is a good thing to know that it does have a usage cap, and that usage cap changes quite a lot. So you can only ask a certain amount of questions per day, even with the paid version. So it's given us introduction to Gen AI for small business owners. It's given us these bullets as we've asked. So I asked for why it helps the audience. I've asked for the title and those bullets as well. So it's given us a few ideas. They're fairly generic ideas. I don't think they're anything particularly great. But the more, as I say, this is a short prompt. The more detail I put in here, the more examples, the better it's going to be. But it's just as a starting point. The next one, if we just keep in this view for a second, is the more legal one. So just kind of show, a lot of people think of ChatGPT for content creation only. It does so much more than that, so much more. And you'll see a few examples of that in a little bit. But this one, act as a contract lawyer with extensive experience in the UK contracts world. So don't forget with characters, it's not just what their job title is. You can give them specialisms. You can even give them a personality if you want. So I've done these debates before where I've put in 4 characters and asked them to debate a topic. And it can be like a really anti-AI copywriter who's really moody and grumpy. And then we can have a professor who's really old-fashioned and condescending to the other people in the group. You can create these characters for whatever your use case. So I just so happen to have a contract lawyer with extensive experience in UK contracts world. They could also have loads of experience within AI as well if I wanted. And then there's my character. And then here's the context: submitting a service agreement to a new client, and I'm concerned about potential for mistakes. That's ironic, isn't it? The potential for errors. But I've pasted that wrong, haven't I? Potential for errors. There we go. Please review the below contract, paying particular attention to, and then I've asked for exactly what. So it's going to produce a report in these sections: spelling, punctuation, and grammar, reminded it for UK English because it defaults to US English. Sensible, clear flow to the contract, any missed opportunities or ways to improve, and any legal errors or oversights. please produce the report in Markdown. So Markdown is just a really nicely formatted sort of header, subheaders, bullets. It just looks like a nice report. So let's run this, and I'm going to dig out a service agreement, one of mine. I don't know why, whenever I do this, I've demoed this before, and I use my service agreement, it pulls out loads of mistakes, and I still haven't fixed them. So I probably shouldn't say that, should I? Service agreement, have we got one of these? Where is my, have I got it? I want it by date, must opened. There's bound to be, where has it gone? That's not a client one. Definitely not a client one. I usually have one here. Freelance service agreement. I think this is, yeah, this is one of mine. So there we go. Let's dig into this. So we've uploaded this file. So in ChatGPT, the plus one, you can add files for reference. That's another really big bonus. And then we've got our prompt in there, and let's press go and see what it does. So I think it's really good at these sorts of things. There we go. So it's between Beasting Limited and an unnamed freelancer. So this is my kind of quite an old freelance agreement. And it's already picking out specific clauses and things I should check, spelling, punctuation, grammar, a few minor improvements could be made. Talks about logical flow and clarity. It's given us quite a short report. You can just go back and say, I want this much more in depth, and you can have a much longer report if you wanted to, but just for the purposes of demo. It's saying my IP clause is very broad. So it's really quite useful, I think, just as an extra pair of eyes, not as a replacement for an expert, but realistically, in a realistic use case, you're not going to go to a lawyer for this point. You know, if you've got a service agreement and you wanted to send something out and you just think, oh, kind of want an extra pair of eyes on it, it works really well as an extra pair of eyes in this sort of thing. So it works really well as an editor. So you can see sort of lots of different use cases around content too. So often I'll use it, so I'll write an email, so it's really, really long email, and it might be in a sensitive situation to a client. I'll paste it in and say, you know, act as an editor. How can I, you know, I'm trying to come across as professional, and I want to keep the sentiment strong and warm, and, you know, maintain this client relationship. What should I change about this email? And it will give me feedback and help me rewrite that properly. So yeah, really good use case there for prompting. So it's a really good example there. So we've had a little look at proper prompts in a very brief look, because I'm very aware of time and I go on a lot. I wanted to show you a couple of things around the other features of ChatGPT Plus. So as I said, it goes up to April 2023, and I have somewhere another, you can't half tell, I am, oh, that's this one, that's what I need. I don't need it over here. So I've got my little notes over here. So yeah, let's have a look at a few other features. So let's first of all look at prompting with the internet. So we'll start a new chat. So again, doesn't know who I am, doesn't know who it is. So I am going to do this one, a competitor research. So this is able to then search the internet and have a look at competitors. So act as a market researcher. I am an AI training company. I've just gone for, not founder of, just an AI training company offering Gen AI training, blah, blah, blah. Your task is to help me understand both my direct competitors in the, UK, specifically when it comes to this. Prepare me a report containing the following sections. So just a little short report for now for demo purposes. So intro and overview, and then a list of 5 direct competitors, including their URL and an overview of their AI training services. That we want the report in the nice fancy Markdown, and just make sure that all answers are relevant. So there's a bit of repetition in there. I find ChatGPT responds well if you really have an important part of a prompt, say it in a few different ways in the same prompt. So remember this, don't forget this, really works. So let's have a little go. So this, when I spoke about multimodality before, this is multimodality in action. So the paid version, you used to be able to drop down here and click internet access mode, data mode, all these different things. Now it knows what mode you want by going from your prompt. So I've asked for URLs, I've asked for competitors. It's going to understand that it understands from my prompt that I want it to search the internet. So it's given us a bit of an overview, and then it's given me some competitors as well. So although this happened before, It's not giving me AI training. It's glitchy. This is another big thing about ChatGPT. It can be really glitchy. Most of the time, it works really well, and then often, usually when I'm demoing it, it doesn't work as well. So let's see if it's actually given us AI trainers. So that one is specialised in connecting SMEs with AI experts. Good to know about. Is it a direct competitor? I wouldn't say so. Innovate UK has enhancing AI adoption in SMEs across high growth sectors. It's kind of okay. It does a bit of training, that's okay. But there's a couple in there that, there's some that are more functional. So it's not, what you do here is go over some of these, just give constructive feedback. Some of these aren't AI training companies. So they're not direct competitors. So you don't need to then add in any characters or anything like that. It becomes a conversation. So you've got your prompt at the beginning. If you don't get what you want back out, just tell it, just say, actually, that was really boring, that result, or it wasn't very relevant, or it's like I've just said, some of these aren't AI training companies. So what it's doing is it's going to redo the results and give me, hopefully, some more interesting competitors. There we go. So we've got much more. Yeah, and these are actual training programs as well. So if it doesn't get it right, don't write it off. Give it a second chance. And I think most of the time it works really well and you'll get a really good response first time, but sometimes it can be a little bit glitchy. Another quick example is news curation. If you're writing a newsletter and you wanted it to go out and find news, this is a useful one. So we'll start again over here. And this is here. So we're going acting as a market research with a strong specialism in the generative AI world. And then we give it a bit of the character and a bit of context. So this is for our newsletter. Your role is to research the news and find recent relevant items that would be of interest to our audience. And then we've given a breakdown, very broad audience. So again, if you're very specific, you get better results. And then this is what then the audience are looking for. Find brand new tool releases, important updates, and new features from the major players, for example, Meta, Claude, OpenAI. So this little bit here is called few-shot prompting. So even though we're now in this kind of non-technical world where we can just interact with these tools without any technical knowledge, these things still have technical names. So few-shot prompting, just change the word shot, for example. This is when you give just a few examples of what you want. So I'm saying, give me AI news, but have a look at these sources, have a look at the OpenAI blog. You could say, I really like TechCrunch, I really like The Verge, and it's going to start to draw from those sources. So if you give it examples, even within text, it's going to draw from the right places. So that's called few shot. Use only credible, reputable sources. Do not use one source for all 10 articles, use a mix. I added this in because when I tested it, it just gave me loads of stuff from TechCrunch, like 10 articles, all from TechCrunch. So let's give it a go and see what it's going to come out with now. A little sip of coffee while I wait. Oh, no, it teased us. Oh, there we go. The amount of times it will break just when I'm using it. So yeah, there we have our news. Is it going to give us the hyperlinks? There we go. So yeah, it's got that one. That is a little old. I wouldn't say that was new. That Claude 3, that's been out for a couple of months. But yeah, so and that's what I'd reply and say. There's a couple of articles in here that aren't so new, because that's to see how this could become quite useful once you've got your prompt refined for exactly what you want. So that is the internet. Creating and editing images is really useful too. So we can start a new chat and we can use, so I've got another few examples here. So we can also generate images. It is not the best image generator. I'd say the best image generator out there is Midjourney at the moment, but that's a whole separate £20 per month. I'm sure anybody who's working in creative is using Midjourney because it's amazing, but it can create some useful stuff. So first one I thought for a marketing context would be this one here. So this is create an image of a pile of books placed on an office table. You can see the cover of the first book is black and has generative AI training on the cover, and let's say and an image of a robot on the cover. So let's see how it's going to create that. So you don't necessarily need to use the words create an image for it to know, oh, they want an image. But if you're generally talking about a picture or an image, it's going to pick up and go and kick off this mode here. So creating the image for you. So multimodality kicking in again. So it's going to create that image for us. One of the things, this is through something called DALL-E 3, named after the Salvador Dali. There we go. It's not quite right. It can produce text, which the others can't. So Midjourney isn't very good at producing text. This can, but it doesn't always get it right. So we've got the AI training, we've got the pile of books. You know, this is a pretty decent, you know, if you make mock-ups, you know, a quick little edit there, and you've got a really usable image. But it's got that word wrong, and that is a frequent problem. It's usually all right with 2 or 3 words. So I'd say the word. Actually, there are 2 ways to do this. So the first one is in painting. So you can click on the image itself. This is a brand new part of this, and you can highlight an area. There we go. You can highlight an area that you want to change. So let's make this a little bit over here. Don't know whether this is going to work very well. I've not done it with text before, actually. And so this, you're saying I want to keep all of the image the same apart from this bit. I would normally do these bits on the side, but this should, or the text should say, I'm over here in the bottom right, the text should say generative. And let's see if it can fix that. Needs a bit of a drum roll because it really is. It doesn't always work. Is it going to work? Is it going to work? So it's creating our image down here on the right. But I think, yeah, for mock-up, so there is a little bit of a, you can see there's a tiny little book sticking up there that doesn't make sense, but you could get rid of that in this edit, actually. Oh, it's just taken the whole word out. But you could easily add that in with an edit. But just to show that kind of, it often, as I say, it's being glitchy today, but often you will get those 3 words correct. So it's a quick way of making a mock-up of something, a product mock-up. If you were to say within this bit, if you moved out of the edit and you went onto this, you would say it should say generative AI training. It's going to actually produce a completely new image for you. So that's why this kind of it's called in painting is quite useful, because you get to play with the same image, but normally it will then create a completely brand new one. And hopefully this is quick. I've got to speed back up again. I realise the time. And I just want to show you that it goes a little, you get sort of a slightly different version, but it might be able to get there. Oh, we've got generative AI training, so we're nearby, but it will create with the same prompt something different every time. So that's just a little bit of images. What is really useful as well is not just generating images, it can read images. So we can upload something like, I'm going to use the same one. So I uploaded some of my scribbles, and I have terrible handwriting because I've been typing for so long, I've forgotten how to handwrite. So I uploaded a picture, and we'll see it in big in a second. So what does this say? So there's my writing. I was just scribbling away on some ideas for a GPT guide. It can read this image, which is really quite useful. And it's going to tell me it's not 100% right. It's got accessibility assembly. But actually, if that was ever so slightly neater, it can pull this out, and you can start to kind of pull tables together from your handwritten notes. And don't forget, all of this, even if it's not working as well as you think it might, it's progressing week upon week upon week. It gets better and better and better. So yeah, another use case might be, so let's pick this and let's take a screenshot of a slide and let's upload that. It's probably a slightly better use case actually than the scribbled notes. I'll take the screenshot and just say, how could I make this slide more accessible? So I do this a lot. I just say, you know, you can also say, how can the copy on this be a little bit better? So it's going to talk to me about contrast and colours. The yellow and the green is a little bit hard to see. Text size and font, make it a little bit more readable, more descriptive text for icons, simplify the language down, you know, and it's just given us some good ideas there. So that's another potential use case there. So that's your creating and your editing images. The next thing, and I'm going to pick up the pace, is chatting with your data. So this is the advanced data analysis feature. So let's start again over here. And what we're going to do is play with some data. So I'm just going to move this a little bit. There is a great website called Kaggle, and it has just data sets to play around with. So when you're starting to use this, downloading something from Kaggle, you just sign up. It's got no cost to it. Let's look for some marketing-based data sets. There we go, marketing analytics. Let's just take this, and you can download. And it's free data sets that are based on real information. It's all publicly available information. So you can have that there. Go into here and upload your. It can take zip files, it can take PDFs, Word documents, all different types of files. And you can just say, analyze this data for me. Whereas I could be a bit more intelligent about that. But it's starting to examine the contents of the file. So what it's doing is pulling it all apart, and it's going to describe to me what we've got. So advanced data analysis mode is one of the most intelligent parts of ChatGPT plus. It's got so many different functions to it. So it's saying we've got a zip file, which is a dictionary, and we've got a CSV file as well. Would you like to analyze a CSV file, or do you want me to look into the images? So let's go for the CSV. So notice I'm not prompting this in the same way as we did before for text. This is just here's some data and chatting away. It doesn't need to act as a data analyst. It's already going to naturally do that. So with this, and we haven't got as much time as I thought because I've rambled on a little bit. It's going to tell you, so there you go. It's going to give you an overview of your data, how many entries and columns you've got. If you wanted to find outliers, if you wanted to clean the information, if you wanted to generate graphs and charts from the information, it will do this for you. It's a really, really interesting thing to play around with. So as I say, it can give you an overview. If you have a set of data and you're not quite sure how's best to, what insights to glean from the data, it can do that too as well. So it will pull those out for you. And yeah, so even if you're not entirely sure. So given the complexity, you might be interested in specific analyses like these. So it's going to start to draw insights from your data for you. So it's really interesting, can create graphs, charts, all sorts of different things, word clouds and everything for you. So really useful for marketing data. And then building your own GPT, we'll just have a very quick look at that. So building your own GPT. So we have Chat GPT that is set up in this certain way. And then you have custom GPTs that you can build yourself. So as I say, it takes all of ChatGPT's data, and then you can add in your own information on top of that. So there's all sorts of GPTs that are available. It's always with the plus version, and there's all sorts of things around writing, productivity, it's some of the writing ones. You've got all sorts of things, AI humanizer, so humanize your AI generated content. They've all got very specific things. Lots of humanizers are very popular at the moment. Text to video maker, Write for Me, there's productivity ones, there's research ones. I will say the quality is dramatically varied. So you have some incredible ones by big brands, you have some terrible ones by big brands, and then it's a public marketplace. It's like the Apple Store. So you've got lots and lots of different ones. The top picks tend to be pretty good. So kind of start off by having a look through those. But you can very easily build your own. We don't have time at the moment, but you build them conversationally. It asks you questions, you answer the questions, and it will build this kind of version of ChatGPT that you can use yourself for your own purposes. So that's your custom GPTs. So back over here, just for the last couple of minutes, that's a tour of the features of ChatGPT plus. People often start with content creation. I was saying, there are so many other things it can do other than content creation, and hopefully you've had a little bit of a little bit of inspiration around some of the things it can do. But I think a lot of people think first draft content, and it can create your text, it can do your visuals for you, it can do your video and your audio. But when it comes to the content creation process, I would say it's better at all the other parts of content creation than the first draft content. This bit tends to be fairly generic, and this bit is probably generative AI's weak spot at the moment, yet it's where most people think that generative AI works the best, or they think that's its only function. So you can use AI to build personas, you can analyze your audience really well. It's drawing from those huge data sets. It's actually very good at analyzing audiences. Market research, your content strategy reports, again, provide examples, previous content strategies, help me build things. Content ideation. On the other side of the content, you've got your editing. We spoke about using it as an editing use case, repurposing, upcycling, reporting. There's so much of the content creation process that ChatGPT can help with, not just the first drafts. And then finally, risks to be aware of. We've spoken about hallucinations already, and we've touched already on data privacy too. So if you want to play around properly, use the team or the enterprise versions, depending on the size of your company. There are other options too, but yeah, if you focus on Chat GPT. Also be aware of bias. So all of this data, this snapshot of the internet, it's trained on human data, therefore it's inherited human bias. So think of how much content, it hasn't gone through a quality check of the content. If somebody has written a really polarizing view on something and there's reams and reams of content, and on the internet there's an awful lot of that, ChatGPT has been based on that. So a lot of people are aware that if you type into something like Midjourney or not so much on ChatGPT, but image generator, and you put woman, create a woman, that woman is going to be a very Western ideal of beauty. You're not going to get somebody average looking, and that's a kind of example of bias. So you need to be aware of all these things to make sure that you're not just taking the output and going, great, I'm off with this, I'm going to give this to a client. You need to be aware it can be biased, and it is biased. Data is not private. It will make stuff up. Plagiarism, a huge topic we could do an entire session on. It has stolen. ChatGPT has stolen all this information from the internet. It didn't ask permission from content creators, from authors, from all sorts of different people. It has stolen this. So that's another whole ethical consideration. Of course, ethics, massive, massive thing. And change management as well. When you're working in your marketing teams using ChatGPT, a lot of people are thinking, why should I embrace something that could potentially replace me? I think working on the idea and understanding that at the moment, and I can only ever speak at the moment because it's progressing fast, generative AI is a fantastic free assistant. It cannot, you need to be able to describe what good looks like and understand what it looks like the other side, recognize it the other side in order to use something like ChatGPT. That's really, really important. You can't give a non-copywriter ChatGPT and expect them to produce good stuff because they can't describe what it looks like in a prompt. And when it comes out the other side, they won't know whether it's good or bad. So it's about empowering the staff that you do have, the team that you do have. So a copywriter with ChatGPT has that kind of extra tool and extra assistant to help them with various parts of the process. Yes, and then if you were looking to work with me, I do lots of different things. So that's a very abrupt ending, isn't it? I've been racing and then it's suddenly ended. Team training, I have my learning hub and I do lots of one-to-one advisory. And I promise I don't always speak this fast. I just suddenly was aware we had no time for questions left. So I sped up towards the end. But hopefully that was helpful. I think that's it. Yeah. Do follow me on LinkedIn. I talk about generative AI all the time, and I've got a free newsletter too called AI for Non-Techies. I'm so sorry about the speed balance of that. That went really, I'm usually a lot more measured. Got too excited at the beginning.
Bless you. Don't worry. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And in fact, I'm going to put your QR code up there again so people can scan your LinkedIn and your website. Super interesting and a bunch of stuff, as we were saying, like, where do we pitch it in terms of the skill level and understanding for the community? And I wasn't quite sure where you should, but I think the balance was perfect. One of the things that I think Nicole said last week was around if you show a certain amount of urgency in your prompting, then it can quite often give you better answers. So Nicole said, like, my job depends on this. Then it will give like better answers.
Yeah.
I'm more along the line of making sure I say please and thank you for when they eventually come to rulers, they'll look at me favourably.
Yeah, no, they said there was an article that said don't use please or thank you because it detracts away from the efficacy of the actual prompts. Like the machine has no purpose, but I'm totally in your camp. Like the robots will come eventually.
Yeah, I'm not taking that risk.
Yeah.
I'll get average results. That's fine.
Yeah.
We've got 5 minutes before the end. We've got a bunch of open questions. I can send you these afterwards if you want to sort of talk about them on LinkedIn or what have you. We've the top voted one at the moment is around declaring AI input into content creation for blogs and social posts. Do you have any advice on sort of practical, ways of declaring that?
Yeah, I think it's completely down to the individual. There isn't any kind of set precedent for that at the moment. I would just be transparent. I think, and there's as we've said, with the content creation process, I would never in a million years advise anybody to create content using AI and then just post it. It's going to be part of your process. So it's a collaboration between humans and AI and that knowledge, so I think, I would disclose it right at the beginning. I think that would be a nice, refreshing thing. But there are clients, I know of some agencies at the moment whose clients have said you must not, a particular agency that has a very big client, and they've said you cannot use generative AI at all at any point in the process. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, where does that start? Because it's a personal thing as well. Every morning when I walk the dog, I'm talking to Chat GPT, saying, act as a growth consultant. Here are my problems for the business this week or today. Help me with some solutions. What are my action points? That's my personal use. And then I know it's related to the business, but how can you possibly stop it at all parts of the process? It's not realistic. So yeah, I don't have any kind of set way of disclosing it. I think people are doing different things. Some people have been really open, and I think that's probably the best way to go. So yeah, we use AI, but we also have brilliant experts, and AI gets rid of the busy work for the experts. So the experts have better time for creative work and
Yeah,
the stuff
it's
they're good at.
exactly what we've done. I think we'll do transcripts of some of the webinars, and we'll just plonk them on the blog page. So your webinar will be transcribed, and it will be like transcribed by AI.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
so
Great.
because there's going to be mistakes in there, and
Yeah.
we don't want that to be a reflection on us in a sense.
Yeah.
We're a small
Yeah.
team, and we don't have the resources to always be having somebody type everything out, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Sarah's asked, when including examples under the context stage that you talked about, do you have to copy and paste the examples into the chat, or can you just include the links? And how does this work with no internet since April 2023? So if you're using the free version and you're
Yeah.
putting a link in, I guess that's, I don't know, 2 months old, does it get confused, or?
Yeah, so with the free version, it cannot go out and go into the internet. So it's basically sort of offline and only accessing what it's got.
Right.
Might not necessarily include that link. So with the free version, cut and just paste it into your prompt. That's the easiest way. With the paid version, you can use links. Or I find it's a better version if you can somehow download it, if you can put it into a document and just say reference this. You can even say, if it's 10 blogs you want to reference, just pop them all into one document, save that document and attach that. But you can attach multiple documents if you
Yeah,
want
that
to.
makes sense. And like I noticed you sort of go back and try and have a conversation and correct the course of where the prompts has sort of started. Is there, like, so Tom Barker has asked, if it's not giving you the results, do you persevere, or is there a point where you go, I'm just going to start again? Like, do you find that the persevering thing is better, or?
Yeah, I find because you can go back. Something I didn't show was, and there's a little pencil on the bottom left of your prompt. And instead of having to keep on, giving it feedback, you can actually go back, press that pencil, and amend the original prompt, and then everything else disappears from underneath that, and it starts again. So that's what I do. I go in and change those chunks. So if I'm getting like that TechCrunch example, if I'm getting everything from the same source, I'll go in and change the prompt to say, make sure everything isn't from the same source, and
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
get the better results. But there's a lot of iteration when it comes to prompting in the first place. You
yeah,
play around for a little bit and find out what works for you. But if you stick with those 3 C's, you tend to kind of start to go, okay. And after a while, you'll get them. And as I say, just save them, because you've got your history on ChatGPT, but when you start to use it a lot, it's really hard to find anything. So save them. I've just got a little prompt document that I'll just draw from time to time, and
yeah.
they'll grow, and you'll get more examples. And yeah, once you've got your solid prompts, it's a wonderful thing. You're just pasting them in and then adding in the little details.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're at time already. I don't know where
Ah,
that's gone.
sorry.
Bang! It's gone so quick. I've got loads of questions as well. There's 13 open questions. There's a bunch of people in the chat. Really appreciate everyone coming along today. I guess if you've got things that are burning questions you really want Heather to answer, then drop her a note on LinkedIn. That's going to keep her
Please
busy
do.
for the next few days.
Yeah,
And
please do.
we can always we'll put all the bits and pieces in the follow-up email as well. So if there's any links that you might have missed during the talk, we can follow up with those. Next week we have Thomas Barter, who if we've had before, talking about leadership, and he's going to be asking, in a world of answers, what's your question, AI related. He's a really fascinating character. That's going to be our fourth one on AI. Heather, it's been brilliant. My mind is open. I'm off to go and get the team version, get that extra extra sort of membership for me and Joe. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been super useful, and I think everybody's sort of really enjoyed it. So thank you very much. Thank you everybody for attending, and yeah, we shall see you next week.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks everyone. Bye.